Hey, Peyton, nice to have you back here. And to our listeners, welcome to AIDEAS podcast, where we share ideas about AI and in general about our thinking applied to AI. And now we have a quote which Andrej Karpathy thinks about a lot, which goes like this: You can outsource your thinking, but you cannot outsource your understanding. Peyton, why is that so important to not outsource our understanding of things?
Good to be back. Yeah, it's a true quote. It struck me immediately when I read it as, "Oh, yeah, that resonates. That resonates." And what's interesting is it's not necessarily that we can understand everything. It's like we only have so much attention. We only have so much psychological energy that I can't understand everything. I can't understand everything there is to know about biology and computer science and electrical engineering and marketing and my trade and sales and all of these different things. It's just not on the menu. I'm only one little person, and no person that I've ever met is an expert and actually understands everything. We can't. And so I think a first step here is at least not deluding ourselves into thinking that just because I can build projects in all of these domains that work really well, that I actually understand all of them and that I actually know what my blind spots are and that I actually know what I don't know, because I don't. And I think also there's a flip side, which is interesting, is for the first time ever, I can actually build stuff that works really well without fully understanding even what I've done, which is bizarre. It used to be you had to actually know what you were doing to build something that works. Now you almost can take a hyper empirical approach of spinning up 10 different things, throwing them all at the wall, running automated tests, running tests in the real world, sending them into daylight, getting feedback from people who do understand it, and sort of shipping your way into building something that's good that you don't even fully understand, which is bizarre. What do you think about how this means? When should we try to slow down to understand versus where should we blow right past understanding and perhaps build stuff on a scaffolding that is less dirty because we just want to go at a faster pace and build 10 things rather than two?
Yeah, great question. The reasonable thing is, I think, do you want to only solve one problem once, or do you want to have it for keeps? If you want to build a project for keeps, you definitely need to understand the architecture about it. You definitely need to go slow in mapping out where should it go when all the users you want to use it will use it. And then you should really understand what are the best practices for each of these little areas which I have to solve. But where you don't need to understand is how to get in the weeds of building the project. There you can just send out the agents and say, hey, with this architecture in mind, with the vision of users experiencing this, please build it out. And then this is how we can outsource our thinking. We do not need to think about the details anymore. We can just get the first application going, and then we can give feedback and iterate upon this. What we need to have is an understanding about where to place our commands to adapt certain things, where to have judgment about whether the architecture is a fit or not for what we have in mind and what our vision is with the product, and how to deploy it and so on. So it is about outsourcing the thinking, which previously just has been mental load and is repeatable, where we do not need to think about it more than once. And then we can outsource this to the thinking machine systems, the sand, which can think. But what we still need to have in order to stay relevant and stay flexible and to stay agile in terms of adapting the systems we want to have is understanding the intention behind it, understanding the core principles and the thinking behind it, understanding how we wanted it to be built out and how the architecture is laid out, so that we can maintain the system and use it further on, and actually have value and have it for keeps. Pain. Um, why and in which cases can we outsource our thinking without too many negative repercussions? And why is that?
Hmm. Great question. I'm trying to abstract the principles behind what I'm about to share, but I'll start off with just sharing a few concrete examples in my business where I'm outsourcing my thinking right now and this week, where I was able to just bypass understanding stuff and ship something that was really good versus where are the places that I actually do have to understand and I can't skip past that in order for this thing to be useful. And then after I share the examples, maybe I'll actually understand why. So, a couple examples where I bypassed my thinking and it was like, or bypassed my understanding. I don't understand them, and I bypassed my thinking, and I just wanted to build something that works. And one is SEO. And so there's this whole thing where for the last 10 tons of the ways that people have found customers and where people have found what they want to buy and who they want to buy it from is by typing in to especially Google, this thing that I want. And so there's been on the back end a whole science that's been built out and hyper developed into SEO that I don't understand. And I candidly don't want to understand because it's so many trillions of tactical tedious things. You have to have every single page on your website is built out and there's these keywords and you find the keywords from these data sources and there's these blogs that you write and there's a science behind what are the questions that people ask and how do they write the questions, and then you have to go on the back end of your website and write out these whole schemas that I didn't even know about. And so basically there's a whole code base behind what's visible on your website. And that's all arranged in a way that it's like, hey, Google, check this out over here. I built out the structure that you can read through and you know exactly where to find the information that's going to be high signal. And then there's these cross links that are set up throughout your website, and everything has an alt tag behind the actual headline that you see. And there's this metadata that's behind all these photos. And then there's these H2 tags that are here. And there's a hierarchy of all these things. And they're all nested. And there's a sitemap. And there's a robots text file. And there's these millions of different what feels like millions of different technical things behind the SEO of a website to truly do a good job of building out SEO for a whole website that's a complex website with 50 to 100 pages. There are literally tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands lines of text and tens of thousands to hundreds of thousand lines of code that go into this to do this at a very high level. I never want to understand this. I don't want to spend half of my bandwidth of my brain, and I don't like it. I don't like to understand like it's so tedious to me. But I can actually learn best practices, do all this research, and build a system where I actually don't understand what I did entirely. I bypass my thinking. I don't understand it, but it's hyper empirical. I can see if it works. And I see, hey, my clicks on my website went up by 2.5 times in the last 3 months. And that's really valuable and it's there for keeps. And it keeps getting better every month. And my lead flow on my website went up by 2.5 times. And I built this in like 3 days. And then I built a system that abstracted all of these principles and every single step and how we audited it and how we do this and how we extract all of the juice from the research from the keyword pulls and weave it into the system to where now I just did it for a couple of websites of family members in like a day so that it can actually create this large amount of value in the background without me ever understanding it. I still don't understand why Google needs all of these different technical aspects to get woven in and how, in fact, is the best practice to weave in the keywords over here and how much is too much keyword stuffing versus not enough and how to abstract the questions from the research that people are asking in their own things and weave in 17 different questions so that Google is pointing and you have all these shots on goal of search results and clicks and traffic. I don't understand that, and I don't really feel like understanding it. But in fact, it's almost like a trade, or almost like a how good doctors 200 years ago would have practiced stuff on just figure out what works and do that, and figure out what doesn't work and don't do that. And I don't
Mhm.
actually know what's going on under the hood, but it works. And this is this technical, high volume, and just rules based stuff where I'm happy to outsource my thinking on this. The same with this week, I built a really robust machine, and we'll see. I don't actually have Unlike the SEO where I do, it's like, oh, hey, my business is way better now because I did this, and my conversion rate is way better because of this. And I don't understand it. I wasn't the one that came up with a multi-step web form idea and this tactic to rearrange my stuff and to improve my page speeds. But now my business has more leads every week for free. Great. The next area that I'm applying this and bypassing my thinking is Google Ads campaigns, which have been the bane of my existence for 100 years because I hate dealing with all these. It's very similar to SEO. I hate dealing with the search terms. I don't want to think about negative keywords. I don't like writing structured snippets, and the interface is so clunky and stupid, and it takes forever, and it's so tedious, and it always breaks, and there's all these things that I don't know what's, and it's so noisy, and I don't know what's real, and I don't know any of this. I don't want to. Bypassing all my thinking about it. I'm never. My plan is never to understand it. My plan is to build a machine that understands all of the tactics. It's code based, and it's programmable, and it runs experiments and actually finds out empirically what works, and then invests our stuff in what works, double downs, figures out the point of incrementality and the point of diminishing returns for each ad set, each campaign, whatever. And it's a machine that actually outsources my thinking. And I don't ever plan to understand Google Ads. What I plan to understand is seeing that this thing works. I'm going to do more of that, and I'm going to get more leads because I'm allocating to what's efficient and I'm capturing the right search intent and stuff. This is the way that I'm building that out. And so once Google, hopefully they give me my API access that I apply to, then I'll be able to vibe code my way to bypassing my thinking on Google Ads. I'll take a
Mhm.
totally different example now. One is two others. One is kind of on the spectrum of like total outsource thinking was these. This is an area where I'm half outsourcing my thinking and half not outsourcing my thinking. This is an email machine that I'm building for my business. So I've never done email marketing. There's people that are experts in email marketing. I've never liked all this tedious setup and connecting these systems or whatever. But now I'm vibe coding this machine where it's like, okay, connect to Apollo, this big database, connect to all of these things, check out these things that I've written to market to these various groups in the past, figure out email best practices, hook it up to Cloud Sonnet to automatically draft these emails, enter people in sequences, yada, yada. And that I'm going to outsource some of my thinking, which is all of the email best practices, how to follow up, and the how to set up and connect with these systems, and how to gather the data from here and structure it like this and whatever. Where I'm going to inject my thinking is the taste of what we offer and how it solves problems and how I market to people and what good marketing copy is and what is the voice of my brand and what are the leads that I want and who are the best intent people to do and how does it tie into my business, where when somebody replies like this, then it creates an automatic task in my CRM for one of my inside sales team to actually call and follow up on people versus what do we not follow up in, and what are the groups and how am I segmenting and what products am I actually going to pitch to what groups, and that high level direction of the getting the right message to the right people that will resonate in the right way, running the right experiments. This is where I'm not outsourcing my understanding because I need to understand, in my view, the message, the voice, the intent, and the product market fit of these things. But all of this technical stuff, I'm not going to understand how I'm going to get these 4 domains seasoned and how I'm going to run these slight ramp ups for each of these individual email addresses and how I'm going to automate this in the background. All vibe coded. Ask me in 2 weeks after I've built out on this how it works, and I won't be 2 questions deep on how it works. And so I'll just be like, I don't know, but I tested different shit until I actually got it low, and now it works, and it works. That's so it'll be half thought, half understood, half not. Then the final. Go ahead.
That's the engineering mindset. I
Yes.
believe in stuff that works. I don't need to understand it fully, as I need to understand it up to a point where I can recreate it. But I do not need to understand the very nitty-gritty details of it. I just need to be effective at deploying the
Yes.
system.
It's a luxury. It's because I feel like I couldn't have done this 5 years ago because I wouldn't you had to understand it back in those days, at least to build the nitty-gritty pieces, and there's some bottleneck I couldn't have solved and this and that. So I'm so grateful for this. I feel like I get to play to my strengths and just skip fast forward past a lot of my weaknesses now. And then last example of where I do need to understand it or it's not worth building. This is my sales coach system. And so I built this deep set of instructions to where after our sales reps go run an appointment, we have a recording and it talks to like it we I have somebody transcribe it. We upload it into our Sales Coach Cloud projects. The instruction set for that, I had to have a deep understanding. I had to talk to experts. I had to think about what makes a successful sales appointment, what actually is effective, what's important, what's the order, how do we build a sales process, what are the tools, when should we lean into solving XYZ problem, what are the ways that we can help people feel confident, what are the different elements and how we codify it and how we break it down, and what is our framework by which we understand and grade and create incremental opportunity for useful feedback and improvement that's hyper specific and targeted, so that the sales reps that are doing this day in, day out, that have done 1,000 different appointments like this, that have used these tools more than I have, how can even those people get really useful incremental improvement in a way that they want to read the improvement, and they get tactics that they can plug in at the right time, and it's actually flagging the specific examples where it's not noisy and it's saying, oh yeah, this person was kind of concerned at this point in the appointment, or this person was their wife wasn't there during the design phase. It was actually the best time to give her a call and say, hey, do you love how this looks? Do you love how this feels? And get her engagement in the project so that they can all be on board and feel confident in the decision or whatever. This is the area where it's got to be deep understanding. Otherwise, the whole system is worthless. It's just noise if it's not built on a thorough, robust, detailed, specific knowledge base that is going to actually insert useful, specific information at the small, right doses, at the right inflection points and leverage points at the right time, with the right specific stuff that fits our business, our process, our values, our value proposition, and all of this stuff. I cannot outsource my understanding of that and build something useful.
Yes.
And so there's a sort of a spectrum of where do I just need something that works that other people have figured out and it's codified and I don't understand and I just need to do it once, and it's got to be good enough and done at a really high volume like SEO, to over here this is really a hyper fine tuning of a really nuanced quality problem when it comes to interpersonal interactions and sales appointments. I can now outsource my understanding here. So if you were going to try to abstract the principles that I don't understand of this spectrum of where can we outsource our understanding, where must we understand and go slower, and we must have this robust, every layer is on a firm foundation. What are the principles that you would abstract from this? When should we outsource our thinking and not understand, versus when do we need to think through it and actually have a deep, embodied first principles knowledge of the system that we build or the thing that we create?
What comes to mind first, and thank you for sharing all these great examples. They are very relevant use cases which can be utilized in businesses just as of now that you shared, like you do. The first thing that comes to mind is the dichotomy between efficiency and effectiveness. You want your decision making to be effective. You want your executions to be effective. And also you want the systems to be efficient, to do the tasks from the input to transform it to the output. And you want the efficiency in the systems which go over and over and over again, which you engineered once, but you want outcomes where it has an influence on your business. Like the quality of the decision has an outcome on the quality of the business in your future. There you want it to be effective. What does it mean? You want the quality needs to be really good. In these cases, you cannot outsource your understanding of things. You at least need to know all the options and how the options have an influence on the quality of your future business. Whereas in a system which is already running, you want to have an improvement. Maybe it should run faster, it should run smoother, and so on. There you do not need to have an understanding of why it now is able to run faster and smoother. So it is still the same thing as if you would be an engineering lead, or if you are a business leader, then you delegate the tasks. But first, it's about your delegation of what needs to be done in the big scheme of things. How does the big picture look like, and why does it need to be like this? Obviously, you initiated the SEO project because it will have a future impact on the amount of leads which come into your business. So there you need the judgment needs to be, and the understanding of it needs to be on the level, where does it have a business impact on your specific business? How the details of it look like, that
Yeah.
is not a matter of what you need to understand. It is the matter of the system, the people you delegate to. So wherever the quality of your decision leads to better business outcomes, there you need the understanding. And the same, not only for business, but also for life outcomes, for whatever you want to have a goal, whatever you want to reach. But wherever it is not too important of how it is done, because there may be ways of doing things which did not come to mind to you and you're not an expert in, there you can just outsource your thinking of, this is a matter of efficiency, but never outsource your thinking in matters of effectivity. There you can still utilize AI, but more like a thinking partner, where you throw back and forth some options, where you think through the best options, where you prioritize according to your optimization criteria. And there the understanding in the big picture, in where your decision making is applied to your business outcomes, never outsource your understanding of it. That's the principles behind it, which I see, which still have been relevant 60 years ago, which Peter Drucker really framed well in his book The Effective Executive, and they will still be relevant in the future as well. You still need to be effective in delegation. You still need to be effective in how you work out your decisions and how the impact will be on your business. Will be assisted by machines, that you can like become like a cyborg, which is enhanced in his thinking, but it will never be, well, never say never, but for now it's not to be outsourced to
Mm,
machines.
mm.
So this is the principle. How would you now like condense and crystallize and boil down these principles even more?
The last thing that comes to my mind, based off what you say, is the noise to signal ratio of what
Yes.
we create. It's so easy to create a an AI slop for anything. There's just an
Yes.
infinite amount of slop where it's like you read through something and like a lot of it all sounds really smart, but 20% of it is fake smart. 20% of it is noise. And I think almost any AI created output and the people that create AI outputs can be measured by not the total quantity, obviously, not even the sum total of the good stuff within there, but actually the noise to signal ratio. If somebody sends me something that's carefully trimmed and they already reviewed and thought about everything because they understand it, and they remove all of the stuff that is low signal, then that is a really or low, yeah, low signal. That is a really valuable output, actually. But
Yes.
if somebody sends the same thing, but there's it's like if you have a if you have a bowl of black beans and there's like four turds that are included in the bowl of black beans, you don't wanna eat around the turds. It's not a valuable bowl of black beans if there's 4 turds in there that you gotta eat around. And it's only our understanding of something. It's only our taste, our judgment, our critical thinking that can enable, and all of it sounds smart. It's not that it's just like, oh, it's in a different font and there's like 4 different sentences that are in Comic Sans and they sound really dumb automatically or whatever. It's like they're really disguised. These are LLMs and they're creating stuff that always will sound sophisticated and sound like it fits. But actually being able to sift through and see, oh, these 2 things are low signal out of all of this. I'll share this week, I sent my COO sent me this plan on how he would increase efficiency. And I went to AI and generated these lists and combined it and came up with these ideas of how, of my other feedback of ideas or whatever. And I looked through and there were 10 things and I trimmed out 4 of these 10 things and sent them this, okay, these 6 things look really good. And then he replied and he was like, well, what does this thing mean? And I don't know about this thing. And I was like, oh shit. I just sent you 2 turds in a bowl of black beans. My bad. Like there was some noise in my signal.
Yeah.
And so it's this is a part of the practice of using AI to help us brainstorm and come up with
Mhm.
strategies is we have to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, and we have to be disciplined about separating the wheat from the chaff. The more
Yes.
slop and noise that we introduce, we don't create value that way. We create distraction. We actually fracture our attention if we insert noise within our signal. And so, with me in my own practice of trying to come up with strategies and solve hard problems, and with my leaders, I'm constantly saying, no noise, eliminate the noise, eliminate the noise. Don't send me something that has 30% slop because you are wasting my time and attention and energy and fracturing me having to, you're almost like you're thrusting that amount of the difficult part of the work on me if you're sending something
Yeah.
that's 30% noise. You are responsible for trimming all of your AI outputs into what's only signal. And if you don't have the taste on something, then it's not like you're sort of putting work on someone else to sift through the wheat from the chaff. That's kind of a philosophy about working with this new resource
That's a new
as
etiquette.
kind of a yeah. Any last thoughts from you on the noise to signal ratio or anything else before we conclude?
Well, it's a pretty round picture now. Still, effectivity and effectiveness
Yeah.
counts for a lot, especially in the leverage points of your business, especially if it um, points towards better outcomes of your business operation. The signal to noise ratio always was valuable, but now that the noise is so easily to be produced,
Yeah.
is becoming even more valuable. So it should be part of the new business etiquette to, yeah, by all means, utilize AI to brainstorm ideas, utilize AI to formulate communication, to be more effective in your communication, but separate the weeds out. Like, this should be etiquette to really go through it and delete the parts which do not fit into the
Yes.
linearity of your argumentation, of your message you want to convey. It is the same thing with artistry. Like, you can make many pictures by all means, but I don't need to see them all. This is part of the creative process to
Mm,
select the pictures
mm,
which you like most. It is part
mm.
of the professional process to select which is highest signal from the information you produce with the machines. So there's another heuristics for it. Never put work on someone which did not take as long as a time as it takes to consume it.
Yeah.
So you should at least put in the same amount of work that it takes another one to consume the amount of work you put out. This is a simple heuristic to be more kind when it comes to
Yeah.
not waste another's time and attention, because it's getting more and more valuable as there is more and more noise to be weeded through. Do that with judgment, do that with taste, do that with your style, and then you'll become a cyborg. You'll
Yes.
never outsource your understanding on the parts which are valuable to the business outcomes, but you can happily delegate the stuff that, and you can think about it like this, that you could delegate before to other people as well, but now you have like cognitive workloads also be done by machines. And this is a good framing to think about
Yeah.
it like this, in my opinion. Any
I just
concluding
wanna
words?
complete I just wanna complete that analogy that you threw out there because I think it's a perfect analogy. It's as if we just transitioned from we can only paint to now we have a smartphone with a camera. And so
Mhm,
when we had to manually paint everything and we would be it's the deliberation and the intentionality is always going to be there because I spent 2 hours painting this picture, and so
mhm.
anything that I paint, I can show you and I can give you and I can show anybody because like I did the work to deliberately create every brushstroke on this thing. Now, when I have a camera and I can take 10,000 different photos of different stuff that can be a stupid photo of a corner and horrible composition here, and there's no lighting over there, and this one's really good. Like it's inconsiderate of me to show you my 10,000 junk photos. It actually is now my job is no longer now that I'm not deliberating to paint every single brushstroke and how the lighting reflects on this tree and oh, I want to put a bush over there and I'll put an animal and the river will go like this in the bend. Now that I can just spray all over the place with my photos,
Yeah.
the trimming, the curation, this is the
Yes,
art. The
the
art is shifting.
curation.
Yes, exactly. And so that's I think the painting to photography transition is kind of where we're at in knowledge work right now. That's a fantastic analogy. I appreciate you sharing
Yes.
that.
And that's what came to mind 2 years ago when I created a little children's novel with images created by Midjourney. But then I created 4 to 8,000 images, and I shifted through all of them and selected 50 of the best ones, and then I put them into Photoshop and painted around them and so on. So the curation process becomes more and more important as the ease of creation increases.
Yeah. Yep.
Appreciate you sharing and completing this analogy.
Hell yeah,
Thank
my
you very
friend.
much.
Yes, enjoy the conversation. I'll talk to you in the next one.
See you soon. Bye bye. And thanks for listening to AIDEAS podcast.